Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to review Suburban Safari, A Year on the Lawn by Hannah Holmes. This was an interesting book, both from a scientific point of view and from a literary point of view. The book deals with a woman's decision to watch her property for a year. Not just watch it as in a sense of, see if it changes, but watch the plants and the animals that live on it, move through it, visit it, and try to come to have an understanding of the native species and their struggle, the invasive species and their effect on the native species, how humanity has changed that little plot of land she has in Maine, and to really come to know her property in a very personal manner. And that kind of dedication, that kind of desire to focus on something and to come to really comprehend it for yourself is fascinating to me. There is Tom Brown Jr. is a man that owns a survival school. He's written about survival topics in the past. His book Tracker is very good. He also wrote another one from that era, which I'm forgetting its title. Though he's become somewhat political in the last few years. In his earlier era, he was just a man that trained in survival and trained people how to live and function in the wilderness, and he was a tracker. People, like the government, would hire him to track things because he was very, very good at it. And one of the things he does in his school is he ropes off a 1-foot square spot on the ground. And then he tells the students, look at that spot. I'm going to come back in an hour, and you're going to record that everything's on that you've noticed in that square. And he comes back in an hour, and the student will tell him, okay, this is what I found. And then he'll say, okay, you missed this, this, and this. No, I'm not telling you the other dozen things you missed. Look again. But the idea being that in that 1 square foot, there is an entire book to read. And that's what Miss Holmes here has done. Hannah Holmes. How to Scare a Cat. Drop a book. Has done. She's opened up her home, literally in the case of her doors in the daytime, and gone out and interacted with nature and come to know it. In fact, she becomes personally involved with the chipmunk. She trains the chipmunk to walk into her lap and eat sunflower seeds. She doesn't capture it. The chipmunk comes and goes, and I won't spoil about the life of the chipmunk, but it was interesting. She comes to know the crows that are living and breeding in her neighborhood. She comes to know the woodchucks and the squirrels and the birds, both invasive and natives. I didn't know that earthworms weren't native to the area in the United States. That was kind of interesting. How many of our native species are in desperate need of assistance? That was quite interesting. Of course, the adverse effects of pollution and human occupation, they were a little depressing. Interesting to see how animals are adapting to human environments because of our behavior. For example, coyotes are moving in because we have removed their main competition, as are foxes in some areas and possums, things like that. Deer are moving into more urban areas because we've created an environment with lots of things for them to eat where there is no hunting them, and their main predators, for the most part, are gone. But because they are now moving in, pumas, cougars, are also moving into some areas in the United States, hunting the deer that are now in our areas. So how we have designed and built our suburban environments are affecting the animal populations of the world and are affecting us in turn. And all of this was written in a beautiful style. This book had a lyrical tone to it. I mean, it's all prose, but there are points when it was almost like spoken word. And I mean, you can speak any prose outside, but there was a certain cadence to it. To me, it bordered on that line between prose and poetry. And that was very well executed, and I thoroughly enjoyed that when she started to kind of wax poetic. And she never did it enough to become tedious or burdensome. And I don't even know if the author was aware she was doing it. I think she was just discussing something that she loves with passion, and it just came out. There have been brief moments in my life where I have discussed things with passion, and my language has risen to the occasion. Not often. Sometimes I just scare cats. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. And she has written another book called The Secret Life of Dusk, which is sitting here on my pile to read. I have 3 more books I have to review. And I will review that at a later date. I'm not going to discuss that right now, but because of this book, it inspired me to go and read the book that she had written before this. So I guess the author was successful in one way. She got me to help further her career by saying, I recommend this book. And she got me to read the other book, which is, I guess, an author's dream. Get people to read their books, isn't it? So I recommend Suburban Safari, and I plan on passing on to my inner circle. This is a book that definitely my wife would enjoy, probably her mother, and possibly her grandmother. I'm not sure. Sometimes things get a little too scientific. Her grandmother doesn't really enjoy them, and when she's 98, she gets to decide what she does and doesn't want to read. But I think that the science in here is woven in with the rest of it so smoothly, so seamlessly, that I think anyone could read this book and come away with it with both an enjoyment of the language and with more knowledge. And what more can you ask than that?